There are bands who become scene stalwarts. They make all the right moves, hit all the right notes. They follow the herd, and they release a few cool tracks. They're in everyone's top 20 or 30 favorite bands. Everyone remembers seeing them that time, at that venue, supporting those other guys. And then there are bands who lead the way. They pioneer new sounds, new ways of doing things. They take risks. They create a legacy, and they push the scene forward. Taking Back Sunday are in the latter category. Without these guys, the last 20 years of emo would just not have played out the way it did. But this wasn't a given. It could easily have been very different, as creative struggles, internal conflicts, and personal drama threatened to bring TBS down. This is the story of a band who made passionate lyrics and high-energy performances their trademark. A band who weathered serious storms and came out the other side stronger than ever. This is the story of Taking Back Sunday. Once upon a time in Long Island, New York, two friends got together to form a band. This is Eddie Reyes and Jesse Lacey. If you don't know these guys yet, you will soon. Jesse invites John Nolan to join the group. John Nolan then hooks up with Jesse's girlfriend at a party. Jesse's not happy. He quits the band. He hates John Nolan. He forms a new band, brand new, partly as an outlet for writing mean songs about his former friend. Now, the beef between Nolan and Lacey is well documented. I talked about it in the brand new video, and I've got a whole other video focused specifically on this drama. So let's try to stay on topic here. With Lacey now gone, Taking Back Sunday needed more members. They brought in Adam Lazzara to play bass and Mark O'Connell on drums. After parting company with lead vocalist Antonio Longo, Lazzara shifted to mic duties while Sean Cooper took over on bass. The classic Taking Back Sunday lineup was born, and the guys were ready to get to work. Fortunately, they were in exactly the right place. Long Island at the turn of the new millennium was a hotbed of punk, emo, and hardcore talent. The likes of The Movie Life and Glass Jaw were already tearing it up, and Taking Back Sunday fit right in, playing shows around the region and honing that trademark TBS sound. With their dynamic, dual vocal style, Taking Back Sunday quickly made a name for themselves. Anyone who witnessed TBS live can attest to this. To say these guys are high energy is an understatement. Lazzara's microphone wheels around the stage like a stallion in orbit. Guitars arc back and forwards through the air. The whole thing descends into sweaty, chaotic fun, and everyone has a great time. By 2001, TBS were replicating that live experience in the studio. Singing with legendary Chicago hardcore label Victory Records, a debut album was in the pipeline, and it was going to be something special. Tell All Your Friends did not disappoint. Over the previous couple of years, bands had been tinkering with the emo formula. Cathartic screams, clean emotional vocals, hardcore breakdowns. These bands tried it all. But those mad scientists in Taking Back Sunday blew all that apart. They created something fresh, exciting, and very much their own. The call and response vocals between Lazzara and Nolan helped craft that unique sound. But there was more to it than this. The guys had pop swagger and a real ear for a hook. Take another listen to Tell All Your Friends if you haven't for a while. Sure, it's intense and raw-edged, but it's catchy as hell too. Tunes like You Know How I Do, There's No I in Team, and Cute Without the E stay in your head for weeks. And there's depth to the lyrics. Yeah, there are plenty of references to Jesse Lacey and betrayal, and fans sure loved picking apart all that drama. But there are more universal themes as well. Heartbreak, fractured friendships, a struggle to make sense of the world. It's all here on the record, and it beautifully reflects the angst of youth culture in the early 2000s. Maybe they didn't know it at the time, but Taking Back Sunday had already built their legacy. This was the record, and this was the band that would spearhead a whole new type of emo. The rawer, more aggressive Screamo genre. They weren't alone. Silverstein, A Static Lullaby, The Used, Senses Fail. All these guys were pioneering this new direction too. But with Tell All Your Friends, TBS had put themselves several moves ahead of their scene rivals. Taking Back Sunday had arrived. Tell All Your Friends was out there in the world, and it was shaking up the scene in a big way. But all was not well with the band. Internal tensions were pushing relationships to breaking points. All this came to a head in April 2003 at the Skate and Surf Festival. Lazzara, whose drinking was rapidly becoming a problem, hooked up with a girl after the band's performance. This would have been fine if Lazzara hadn't been dating John Nolan's sister at the time. Infidelity reared its ugly head in the TBS story once again. This time it was Nolan who left the band, taking Sean Cooper with him to form Straylight Run. The departure of Cooper and Nolan sent shockwaves through the band and through their fanbase. But in some ways, it was inevitable. It wasn't just the cheating that had driven Nolan and Cooper away. Creative differences and arguments over the direction of the next record had made life miserable in the band. Maybe now, TBS could move forward. Enter Fred Mascherino. Mascherino slotted right into Nolan's vacated role, providing a new dynamic to the band with his vocal and guitar skills. Recruiting Matt Rubano on bass, the revitalized new-look TBS were ready to record their new album. Where You Want to Be, released in July 2004, is a pretty amazing achievement for a band who had just lost two of their core members. Taking the Tell All Your Friends blueprint and tweaking it for a new group dynamic and new sound, the record is one of TBS's best. It might not have had quite the same "what the hell am I listening to" impact as its predecessor, but Where You Want to Be has some stunning tracks on it. Set Phasers to Stun picks up where Tell All Your Friends left off, slipping seamlessly into the next chapter of the band's development. But TBS weren't simply going to remake that first record. On A Decade Under the Influence, Lazara seems ready to cut ties with their debut, cheekily repeating, "To hell with you and all your friends," in the song's soaring summary chorus. Where You Want to Be debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and was Victory Records' biggest-selling album to date. There was no question, TBS had earned their position as leaders in the emo and screamo scenes, and now mainstream audiences were sitting up and taking notice. Surely a major label deal was just around the corner. In 2005, it happened. Taking Back Sunday signed with Warner Brothers Records. This was it, the majors. So the band's profile was higher now, but the stakes were higher too. If Taking Back Sunday were going to come back strong on their third record, they'd need to come out swinging. And boy, did they do that. The first 3 tracks on the record are a left-right-left combo of hook-laden hits and dance floor-ready classics. What's It Feel Like to Be a Ghost hits quick and hits hard. That delicious opening guitar riff is very of the moment for 2006, and sounds like something Jet or the White Stripes might come up with, if they could write and drop deep. Liar, It Takes One to Know One, introduces a bit of Head Automatica-esque groove and strut, but with a harder edge and those trademark Adam Lazzara lead vocals. And then, Make Damn Sure. This was many people's first introduction to the new record. It was released as a single a month before the LP hit the shelves. In many ways, Make Damn Sure felt like a perfecting of what Taking Back Sunday had been working towards all along. They'd got the balance perfect here. Heavy and raw, but super catchy. Emotional, heartfelt, but smart and sassy with it. Soaring and epic, yet groovy and danceable. It's something to behold. It's no surprise that Louder Now was TBS's biggest hit to date. The record went gold in the US, hitting number 2 on the Billboard 200. It was a thing of beauty, and it was getting the attention it deserved. But there were more troubles beneath the surface. Fred Mascherino, by now a stalwart member of the TBS lineup, quit the band to do his own thing. No problem. This happens. Band members leave, start solo side projects. Only, Mascherino's comments didn't paint the situation in a good light. "We weren't being very productive because we were fighting about songwriting stuff," he said. The band was more about cooking food than making music. The band struggled on with new guitarist Matthew Fazzi. They released New Again in 2009, a commercially successful and pretty decent record. Unfortunately, it lacked the big tunes and inventive joy of its predecessor. This iteration of Taking Back Sunday wouldn't last. By 2010, Matthew Fazzi and Matt Rubano were gone. So what's next? Who was going to replace the pair? Well, there were rumors. And it turned out those rumors were true. That spring, the band confirmed the return of John Nolan and Sean Cooper. Back with their original lineup. Well, not quite the original lineup, but the classic, first record lineup. TBS were in a nostalgic mood. They were falling back in love with those old tunes. New versions of tracks like Ghost Man on Third and Great Romances of the 20th Century were released as B-sides, and audiences were treated to some old-school classics in live sets. But they were looking forwards, too. They had a new album to release after all, 2011's self-titled. A critical success, the record introduced some slick new tracks to the Taking Back Sunday canon. One reviewer even called it the best record of their career. Easy now, it's a fine album, but let's not go nuts. Not ready to become the Rolling Stones of emo, just trotting out the hits, but not willing to turn their backs on that early work. TBS were striking the balance just right, and fans and critics were loving them for it. This might be a hot take. It might even be a bad take, but hear me out. Taking Back Sunday have already made their best records. Nothing is going to top the thrill of hearing Tell All Your Friends for the first time. Nothing is going to touch the perfection that was Louder Now. They've peaked, but this is not a bad thing, and here's why. Firstly, TBS are still making great records. 2016's Tidal Wave and 152 from 2023 are examples of a band that's still evolving, still experimenting, and still creating awesome music. Saying these records don't hit quite the same way as Tell All Your Friends is like saying the last Paul McCartney record isn't the Beatles, or complaining that Dave Grohl isn't making Smells Like Teen Spirit anymore. That's not how art works. That's not how life works. Secondly, you just can't touch Taking Back Sunday's influence. There was emo before TBS. They didn't invent the genre, but they did change how this type of music was played and made. That feud with Brand New sent everyone reaching for the popcorn. But beyond all the soap opera shenanigans and kiss and tell antics, there were two great bands at the absolute top of their game. Brand New wandered from the emo Screamo fold in search of pastures new. But Taking Back Sunday opted to do something different. They stuck with the genre, and they made it their own. Name a Screamo band for the last 20 years that wasn't influenced by Taking Back Sunday. There literally aren't any. The classic TBS lineup, reformed in 2010, didn't last forever. Eddie Reyes had been with the guys from the very beginning, but left amicably in 2018 after nearly 20 years in the band. These days, TBS are still going. They're a four-piece now, opting to continue as they are, rather than replace the OG Reyes. Their journey is one of resilience, creativity, and emotional connection. Sure, things got a bit silly between Nolan and Jesse Lacey back in the day, but who didn't get a bit petty and immature in their early 20s? Since then, the band has set about building a stunning body of work that has stood the test of time. You're not just reconnecting with your youth when you scream along to Cute without the E. You're connecting with a cornerstone of the genre. A band, a record, an idea that changed emo forever. Good job, Taking Back Sunday. Good job. Thanks for joining me again. If you're in the mood for more emo and pop-punk deep dives, then I've got great news for you. There's another one coming right up. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe.